Hello everyone! I am sure that many of you can relate to the following situation. Oh man, I can't wait to read this book that's an exciting start to a new series. I definitely do. I love reading. I want to read all the books, all the stories. It's just that so many of the books that I pick up, they're always part of a series or a trilogy or even just a duology. There's always a sequel. Even when I think that I'm reading a standalone, like The Watchmaker of Filigree Street, but then I get a lot of comments from you guys and what do you know? It has a sequel. Just another series that I haven't finished. And I don't know about you guys, but I have absolutely no grasp of how many series I'm actually currently in the middle of and how many series I've actually finished and which ones I maybe don't want to finish anymore. It's all just like a big blob of series, no thoughts, head empty on that one. So my plan for this afternoon was actually what I'll call the big series finishing project. Still working on a title. And I basically just want to go through all of my books and figure out how many series I've actually finished, how many series I still need to finish, and which ones I actually want to finish and which ones I maybe want to abandon. So I thought it would just be fun to take you guys like on the process with me, trying to tackle this series finishing problem together. I already know that this is going to be quite, I don't know, it's probably going to be very confrontational, but hopefully at the end I will end up with a nice clean list of series that I still want to finish. Just want to let you guys know real quick, very important, I have rainbows in my room. Little tiny cute little rainbows. It's because of this prism. Love that. Okay, moving on. Okay, let's begin by exposing myself. I'm gonna try to find out how many series I have actually finished, read from start to finish, and then at the end, oh boy. And then I'm also gonna write down all the series that I've started but haven't finished, and then at the end I can give you a percentage, like the percentage of series that I actually finish when I start one. Okay, so let's just begin with what's on my bookshelf. But of course I also have more books that I don't own. But let's just begin with what I have on my bookshelf here. So the great thing about classics is that they're usually not series. So that's really nice. I can just skip this section. The first one that I see is already laughing at me. Just laughing in my face. And that is the Lunar Chronicles. Talked about this before, I don't want to expose myself again. I never actually finished the series because I stopped halfway through winter. And you know, the thing is, it's too late now. So I technically haven't finished this one. Well, that's number one for a series I started but haven't finished yet. A Wrinkle in Time is apparently also a series because we can't have nice things. So The Prior of the Orange Tree is supposed to be a standalone, but I follow Samantha Shannon on Twitter and she is currently writing another book that is taking place in the same universe. So it might soon no longer be a standalone, but for now, it is. Okay, we're just gonna live in blissful ignorance and say that this is a standalone. Broken Earth trilogy, one that I actually finished. Look at me. I finished this over the span of maybe 2 months, which I've noticed is like the best way for me to actually finish series if I just read them all at once. And after years and years, I've also finally finished the A Darker Shade of Magic series. 2 finished series. Oh right, so The Watchmaker of Filigree Street, which is apparently a series now. So I'm gonna have to put this on the list as a series that I haven't finished. And the non-fiction shelf, which again makes me very happy because non-fiction usually doesn't come in series. Now let's move on to YA fantasy. Oh god. Literally this, oh no. I took one look at like this part of the shelf and all I see is only first books in series. Red Queen, A Deadly Education, and Star Daughter, The Wrath and the Dawn, oh boy, The Kiss of Deception, and The Star-Touched Queen, which also, it kind of is a standalone, but there is a companion novel, so it technically has a sequel. Writing them down. If you're looking for a good standalone fantasy, I highly recommend To Kill a Kingdom. And then We're in the Ashes, I only read book 1. I did finish the, what is the series called? The Rebel of the Sands series. Very, ooh, nice and shiny covers here. Just like the 5th season, I basically read the entire series within 1 month. This Savage Song, I also haven't read the sequel yet. Oh, I forgot about this one. But The Poppy War, which I recently started, and I still haven't read any other books in the series yet. Get a Life, Chloe Brown is like part of like a companion novel series. And then Girls with Sharp Sticks is another one of those books that really can be read as a standalone, but there is a sequel. Okay, moving on to the favorite shelf. That's gonna be good because I'm assuming that there's just gonna be series on there that I finished. I finished the Six of Crows duology, and I've also finished the Grisha. Oh, please don't mind me storing my fruit and my chocolate on this shelf. It just happened like that. But I finished the Six of Crows duology and the Grisha trilogy, so. And I've also finished the Penryn and the End of Days trilogy years ago, but I still love them. Vicious, which has a sequel now, so it's a series now, so it's an unfinished series for me now. And then here are 2 series that I haven't finished simply because not all of the books are published yet. The first is Ninth House, which I think is gonna be like 6 books. Actually, I don't know how many it's gonna be. And then the Gilded Wolves. I have read the first 2 books and the sequel comes out at the end of this year. So these are all the books that I have on my shelf, but of course I've read more books, like either from the library or maybe I unhauled some books. So I will take a look at my Goodreads and then count more books that I haven't finished, or more series that I haven't finished. I noticed that a lot of series that I started like years ago, I have all finished, like books like The Hunger Games, the Divergent series, Twilight. Back in the day, I did finish my series. I don't know where it went wrong, but something changed and now I have a really hard time actually finishing series. Ooh, the Iron Face series. Oh, actually, so the Iron Face series, I finished the original trilogy, but then there was a 4th book that was from the perspective of the love interest, and I was not interested in that one. But I haven't read that, so technically I didn't finish the series, but I did finish like the main I'm just gonna count it as finished, okay? Oh, there's so many series of which I've only read the first book, and then just, oh, there's another one. Oof. Oh, and another one. Bigger oof. I even see like books that I completely forgot that I even read, like Poison Study by Maria V. Schneider. Actually really enjoyed that book. I just also never continued. And just when you think that you finished a series, like the Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson, there's a sequel coming out and suddenly you haven't finished the series. There's gonna be a 4th book in this series, but since that has not been published yet, I'm just gonna count it as a finished series for now. And this is not funny anymore. Started this video to have fun, and I'm honestly feeling really attacked right now by myself and my own reading habits. So Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is technically a series, because you have Alice in Wonderland and then Through the Looking Glass, so there's a series I finished, which is apparently the only classic I own that actually is part of a series. Okay, ooh, that's all. Now let's count up the results. Oh no. Oh no. So in total, in my lifetime, I have finished 15 series, which is actually, that's actually higher than I expected. Like 15 series, that's quite something. If you remember that every series has like a lot of books in them. I think 15 series is actually not really that bad, or at least so I thought, until I found out how many series I have not finished, because I currently have 48 series that I started and haven't finished yet.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
That means that out of all of the series that I've started, I've only managed to finish 24%. So I abandon about 1/4 of every series that I start. Oopsie. Now the question is, how the hell do I fix this problem? I think the first problem is that I need to be more aware of series that I started, because I was scrolling through Goodreads and I was like,
Oh, right. I started that series once, and oh, right. I never actually read the second book.
I just forget that I have these series that I started, especially if I don't physically own the book. And the second thing is, of course, like the most obvious thing is there are a lot of books that I gave 1 or 2 stars that are part of a series, and then of course I'm not gonna continue that series. Now I think the next step in this little adventure that we have going on is trying to figure out which one of these 48 series I actually want to finish and which ones I might want to abandon. But before we do that, I'm really hungry and I'm gonna make lunch. In an exciting turn of events, I'm not having toast with cottage cheese for lunch, but instead toast with eggs and spinach. Okay, so what's next? Of course, I could now decide that I have 48 series that I still want to finish, but I think there's absolutely no point in trying to finish a series just to finish the series, just to tick off a box. Of course, if I'm not interested in a series, I'm not going to finish it. I noticed when I was going through my Goodreads that there were a lot of books, like first books in series, that I gave like 1 or 2 stars. So, of course, I never continued the series if I didn't even like the first book. So, I need to start making a decision on which series I actually want to finish and which series I just have to accept that I'm gonna have to abandon them. The question is, how? I could, of course, just go to my Goodreads and shelve them as want to finish and don't want to finish. Or I could make a spread that serves absolutely no purpose other than that it's fun to make a spread. Okay, so here you can see me opening a new Notion page. I am making a table page and I'm just calling it All the Series with a cute little owl as an icon. I'm just going back and forth between Goodreads and I'm writing down every single series that I ever started, so that's quite the process. The cool thing about Notion is it also counts at the bottom how many I have. I also found out that apparently Stardaughter is not part of a series, so I left it out of this list, so I actually have a total of 62 series that I started, not 63. And then once I did all of that, I just tagged the ones that I finished as finished. You can just make your own tag in Notion. So I did that, and then I have a nice overview of every single series that I ever read with the ones that I finished tagged as finished. Okay, so now I have this whole big list right here of all of the series that I've started in my life, and like only 13 of them are marked as finished. So now all that rests me is I'm just gonna decide which ones I don't want to continue, and then I'm gonna tag them as abandoned. I'm gonna do this on my phone because my laptop is making a lot of noise. It always is. Just a heads up, I'm gonna be relentless because there's absolutely no way that I'm gonna be reading 48 series. I don't want to do that to myself, so I'm gonna be brutal. Let's start off with like the obvious ones, like the 100. I actually read 2 books in that series. I don't know why I did that. Oh my gosh, Firelight. Does anyone remember this book? This is one of those books that I read back in the day when paranormal romance was really in, and it was about a dragon who fell in love, a girl who could turn into a dragon, and she fell in love with a dragon hunter, but it was really bad. Don't worry, I won't overwhelm you with like a long list of all the books that I won't finish, so I'll put on the screen all the series that I decided to abandon quickly, simply because I didn't even enjoy the first book in the series. I technically never finished Winter. It's just that I really don't want to start the commitment of having to reread the entire series again to even understand what's going on, just to say that I finished it. So I think I just have to admit that we have another fallen soldier here. Here are some other books in the category. It has just been too long since I read the first book in the series, so I will probably never reread it to continue the series. Of course, for all of these counts that there could be a moment that I'm like, actually, I do want to continue one of these series. And that's fine, and that's why I like having them all in one place now. Now for the more difficult ones. We have A Deadly Education, or the Scholarman series. I was like, maybe I want to continue the series if the second book comes out. I think I'm just going to put it at no for now, and maybe if the second book comes out and there are like a lot of positive reviews for it, I might try it out. And then we have The Final Empire. I never talked about this on my channel, but I actually did read The Final Empire. I did talk about this on my channel, by the way. I have a review for that book. It's very awkward and old. It's also my most disliked video of all time. Probably because the Mistborn stans found it and didn't like my critique of it. But basically I had mixed feelings about the book. I gave it 3 stars, you know. There were things I loved, things I didn't like, and then I just never felt the need to continue the series. Because if I give a book 3 stars, that's like, maybe I'll continue it, but also probably not. Kind of decided that I didn't want to continue that series because they're quite thick boys, but I get so many comments so often from you guys telling me to read Mistborn, and every time I think, well, I already tried it, but maybe I do want to try it again? But also, that's quite the commitment, and maybe it's better to use that reading energy for a book that I know I will enjoy. I kind of enjoyed A Wrinkle in Time, but not enough for me to want to read 4 more books in the series. A Song of Wraith and Ruin, I'm very torn on. It's a book that I enjoyed just enough to give it 3 stars, so I don't know if that's enough for me to want to continue with the series. Probably not. Okay, again, we're just gonna be ruthless here. Oh, there's so many. These are 2 books that you really can read as a standalone, as in the story just wraps up nicely, and I didn't love them enough to really want to like commit to another book in the series. This one I find very difficult because I gave this book 3 stars, I enjoyed it, but 3 stars is usually not enough for me to really want to commit to like the rest of the series. It's just that I love Roshni Chokshi's other series, The Gilded Wolves, and this is her debut novel, so maybe the sequel really is just a lot better. So it's a companion novel where we follow the perspective of a character that I didn't really care about, so I don't really necessarily want to read it, but on the other hand, I do kind of really want to read everything by Roshni Chokshi, so decisions. Then we have the Murderbot Diaries. So I gave the first book 3 stars, I enjoyed it, thought it was fun, but again, not so much that I want to continue, but I did get a lot of comments from you guys that you really wanted me to continue and that it only gets better, so I might continue that one. I can listen to them on audiobook pretty easily, so maybe. To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I read the first book, really enjoyed it. I think I read that in a day, but, and this is gonna be blasphemy, but I've already watched the second Netflix movie, so I already know what's gonna happen, so I'm not super interested in reading the story as well. And sometimes, and that's okay. Maybe one day, but let's be honest, every time someone says, maybe one day I'll read this, they won't read it. I also mentioned Children of Blood and Bone in another video. I really loved the first book, but I've heard so many bad things about the sequel that that one's gonna be abandoned as well. Then we have, oh, The Savage Song. What do I do with this book? I also really loved this book. There's only one other book in this duology. Like, I should be able to just do that. But then again, I'd have to reread this book because I remember nothing. Why is this so difficult? No, I'm gonna be ruthless, okay? It's okay. I'm pretty sure that, I don't know if I ever mentioned in this video, but I never planned on reading the other books in the In Ember and the Ashes series because, again, it was like a 3-star read for me, which is good, but not enough to continue. But I've been getting more and more curious about this series. I talked about this in my books I changed my mind on, if you want to know more, but the more I think about In Ember and the Ashes, the more I like it. So maybe I should revisit that series. Okay, wow. That feels good. That leads us to the most fun part of this video, which is all the books that I still have to read. All the book series that I still have to finish. And I have a plan for this because, you know, I said at the beginning of this video that one of the big reasons that I don't really continue a lot of series is that I sometimes just forget which series I'm in the middle of. So I have my reading journal here and I'm going to make an overview page for all of the book series that I still want to finish. I actually started one at the beginning of the year, but I only mentioned the few series that I could think of at that moment. So now I'm going to add all the other series to that list that I want to finish. Also, if you want to know more about my reading journal, I will link... If you want to know more about my reading journal, I will link a bunch of videos that I made on it in the description. We're sitting on the bed because it's getting a little bit dark already. That's what you get when you spend your afternoon willingly organizing useless information. So here are the series that I actually really want to finish. It's really not that many, which is nice because that means I have a bit of an overview and it's not as daunting. The first ones that I had already written down are the Poppy War, obviously. I'm getting more and more hesitant about continuing this series because I know that book 2 is very heavy on like the political intrigue and the war strategy, which is not my thing at all. So please, if you've read The Dragon Republic, please hype me up about that series in the comments. Then I am super excited to continue the Brown Sisters companion novel, so Get a Life Chloe Brown, and then we have Take a Hint Denny Brown and Act Your Age Eve Brown, which is coming out soon. Really excited about those. I think I could finish that series this year. Then we have the Nevermoor series. The first one is called The Trials of Nevermoor. No, I wrote it down wrong here, but the first book is called The Trials of Morgan Crow, which is the first book in the Nevermoor series. I know that Sabine and Olivia are having a read-along for this series, and I'm going to be a host for their live show of Wondersmith, so I will leave a link in the description to their Twitter page. I think they have a Twitter page where if you also want to join the read-along. Then another... Oh, I see now that I did not write the D. The Gilded Wolves. Gala. Okay. So, of course, I'm super excited about finishing that series. Duh. And then... Then I wrote down the Murderbot Diaries just in case. I don't know if I'll get to this series, but I thought I would just write it down. Then, of course, Ninth House. I want to continue that if we ever know when book 2 is going to come out. I wrote down Vicious because I still don't know if I want to read Vengeful right now. I don't really feel like reading Vengeful because I just don't think I'm really going to love it. But maybe one day I will. Oh, there I am again with the maybe one day, but genuinely. So I just wrote it down in here so I could be reminded of it. And then also, just in case, I wrote down An Ember in the Ashes, again to remind myself of it, because I might want to continue with that series, and I know that my library has all those books. And then, last but not least, I decided to write down the Mistborn trilogy on here, just in case as well, to remind myself of it, because I do want to get into Brandon Sanderson and try more of his work. But I do realize now that I don't really have a lot of space left, which is kind of stupid because there are quite a bunch of series that I actually want to start this year, like the Jade City series, and also I still have to read the First Law series. And I'm sure that throughout the year there's going to be a bunch of other series that I want to start. And now I don't have any space anymore. But that's a problem for future me. So, just to recap, I started this video finding out that I've only finished 15 series in my entire lifetime and that I have started 62 of them. But I managed to bring that down to a really nice overview of all the series that I still want to finish, which is mostly just like 5 series that I know for sure I want to finish, and then 4 more that I just put on there just in case. And here is the finished list. I decided to tag the ones that I finished as finished, of course. The ones that I decided to abandon, I tagged as abandoned. And then series that I still want to finish, I tagged as in progress. Also, I forgot to mention, but I ended up deciding to put The Star-Touched Queen as abandoned because I know that I will probably just never read the second book. Of course, this is not a definitive list. If I tag something as abandoned, I can of course always go back and decide that I want to continue the series anyway. Woohoo! I feel very organized now. Please let me know if you also have a problem finishing series, if you know how many series you still have to finish. I would like to know how bad it is for you guys, or if I'm the only person who has started but not finished this many series. If you want to see more of me, you can follow me on my social media or subscribe to the channel. That's all I have to say today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon in another one. Goodbye!